I want to speak a message to you today that I've entitled, Jesus, God with Us. Jesus, God with us. And if I can have you open first to Isaiah chapter 9. Isaiah chapter 9, starting in verse 6, the scriptures, they read this way. For a child is born to us, a son is given to us. The government will rest on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace. Now, if we jump to Luke chapter 2, starting in verse 10, the scriptures read this way. But the angel reassured them. Don't be afraid, he said. I bring you good news that will bring great joy to all people. The mighty Savior, yes, the Messiah, the Lord has been born today in Bethlehem, the city of David. And you will recognize him by this sign. You will find a baby wrapped snugly in strips of cloth lying in a manger. So the last few weeks, we've been working through a series that I've entitled, Who Am I? And the basic concept and the idea of this series is we're getting to know who Jesus is. Because see, the truth is you can never get to have a close relationship with anyone unless you get to know them. And I firmly believe that the reason there are so many people who claim Christianity as their faith, so many people who will attend church every week but have no life-transforming experience, that will be able to go out and live like the world all week and come and act totally different on a Sunday, is for one simple reason. They have no idea who it is they're supposed to be falling in love with. See, I had a dog when I was younger. His name was Buddy. And Buddy was a pretty awesome dog. In fact, he got so excited when you walked into the yard that his tail would wag so fiercely his entire body would shake. He would bounce, but he wouldn't jump. He would only bounce on his front legs. So he would kind of bounce on his front legs and bark, and he would be so excited to see you, and he would run to your legs, and he would almost trip you because he'd be running in around your legs. He was so excited. He wanted to be so close to us when we were home. But if you were a stranger, it was a little different. See, everybody else except the family saw Buddy as fierce, as an angry dog, as a scary dog. Because the truth is Buddy warmed up to us because he knew us, but he didn't know them. And so he was just a little bit cold, you could say, toward them. But you know, it's kind of funny that we as people aren't all that different, are we, from my family dog? We're not. We see someone that we know, what do? We brighten up with a smile. We give them a hug. We shake their hand. And this time of year, we're like, Merry Christmas. And we're so excited and we're so warm and comforting to people. But when we don't know people, we treat them like they're another coat on a coat rack. You say, I don't know about that, Drew. How many thousands of people have you walked by in the mall this holiday season, never even smiled at? Never said hi to, never even gave one warm greeting to. They were just simply just another thing in the way to get to the sale at Walmart, right? They were just someone else in line that you had to wait for so you could get out and get to that next store to buy more presents. See, the truth is when we know someone, when we meet them in the mall and they're in front of us in the line, we're excited to see them. It doesn't matter that they're in front of us and they stand between us and the sale. We greet them. We talk to them. Why? Because there's a fondness. There's a closeness. And see, I believe that it's the same way in our relationship with God. There are so many people who come to church and they just walk in and walk out. No big deal. It's what we've always done. But in reality, if we want to get into a position where we come to church and we are excited about being in the presence of God, we get up in the morning and we read our Bible and we are excited to see what God's going to say today. We are excited to pray because we can't wait to hear what Jesus has to say to us today. If we want to get to that point, we're going to need to get to know Jesus better. Because once you know Jesus, you can't help but love the man. And see, one of the things that we're going to talk about today, or rather the only thing we're going to talk about today, is one of the most important things to know about Jesus Christ. And that's this: Jesus Christ is God in the flesh. Jesus Christ is God in the flesh. Think about that for a minute. That's incredible. But to really understand how Jesus could be God in the flesh, we kind of have to understand one thing first. This was planned for thousands of years. This wasn't something that just happened. It was planned for thousands of years. Isaiah 9 verse 6 says, "For a child is born to us, a son is given to us, and the government will rest on his shoulders. He will be called Wonderful Counselor," get this, "Mighty God and Everlasting Father." I'm going to hit this a little later, but I'm going to put it out there. There's only one mighty God, and there's only one everlasting Father. Amen? But this is what I want you to see here. The prophet Isaiah wrote this down in 8th century BC. Over 700 years before Jesus was ever born. In fact, we have scrolls from the Dead Sea carbon dated to 200 BC. That means we actually have in our possession this actual scroll that is dated 200 years before Jesus was ever born, yet we read this. And so this is what it tells us. There was a plan in place. There was a plan that this was all going to come to fruition. Now, why is that important? Well, Christmas is upon us. And you know, before Christmas ever came, months before, we planned for Christmas dinner. We talked to our family and we decided to see when everyone could make it, what time would be a good time, whose house it should be held at, right? We planned and prepared for Christmas dinner. Months before, unless you're a man, you planned and you went out and started to buy your presents, didn't you? You went out and you decided who you were going to buy for, what you were going to buy, how you were going to purchase it. You shopped the sales and you looked at the flyers and you waited and you waited until sometimes the last moment when you had no time left to go out and get that last bit of stuff. And see, it took a lot of planning. Why? Because Christmas is important to us. See, anything that is important to you, you're going to plan for. That's just the way of it. That's just the way it is. And in Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14, it says, "All right then, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Look, the virgin will conceive a child, and she will give birth to a son, and we will call him Emmanuel," which means God is with us. See, there was a plan. For thousands of years, from the very beginning of time, there was a plan, and it took some preparation. God had a plan because this, what he was about to do, was going to reshape the entire history of mankind. And it took some preparation. It needed to happen at just the right time, at just the right place, with just the right people involved. It wasn't a mistake that the angels came to those particular shepherds. It was no mistake that those particular wise men understood the prophecy. It wasn't a mistake that the angel came and said, "Mary, you are going to conceive a child, and this child is going to be the Son of the Most High God." It was no mistake that they came to Joseph and said, "Joseph, your soon-to-be wife is pregnant. But listen, nothing fishy happened. Let us explain to you what's going on here." It was no mistake that it was Joseph that was chosen. It was no mistake that it was in the city of Bethlehem. It was no mistake that it was during the time of Herod. Everything was planned perfectly, at the perfect time. Because if something is important, it's going to be well planned ahead. And this was the most important moment in the history of mankind. But see, it leads us up to this. We have to understand that this was important, but the reason this was so important is because God himself was about to come down and take the form of mankind. Listen to this. Isaiah 9 verse 6. "A child is born and given to us. The government will rest on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, and Everlasting Father. Mighty God and Everlasting Father. There's only one. Only one. We just read chapter 7. Chapter 7 said he's going to be born and he's going to be called Emmanuel. God is with us. It doesn't get a whole lot clearer than that until you jump to John. And the Apostle John says this in the very first verse of the first chapter. In the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. Do you hear that? The Word was with God, and the Word was God. You jump to verse 14, and it says, the Word that was God, became human and made his home among us. It doesn't become any clearer than that. The Word was with God, the Word was God, the Word came and dwelt among us. God came and dwelt among man. Now, a couple weeks ago, I heard on the radio that there's a bit of a scam going on. This man was going around and getting people to invest in cryptocurrency. Now, what cryptocurrency is, for you who don't understand, is it's online money. It's basically kind of not real. But the truth is you could take this not real money and you can make it real money. Confusing, I know, but that's the basic idea of it. The truth is this. It exists. It's real. And so this man was going around and getting people to invest in this cryptocurrency. He got 250 people to invest. Some of those people took their entire life savings and put it into this. Can you imagine just a few weeks before Christmas realizing that you put all your life savings, everything you have worked for, you have worked so hard for this, and you put it into this investment expecting this great return only to find out that it was all a sham. It was all fake. None of it was real. How devastating would that be? But do you realize that there are people who have worked their whole life to become rich, trying to find fulfillment and contentment? There's people who have worked their whole life to succeed and get ahead in life, to try to find contentment and fulfillment. There's people who've jumped one relationship to another, try to find contentment and fulfillment. There are those who've searched other religions, and they've looked to other gods trying to find fulfillment and contentment, only to find out that they're not finding peace, they're not finding rest. Only to find out all those things they were told that was going to make their life so worth living was nothing more than a sham. How devastating must that be to find that out? Is it possible that what I offer you today and what is offered to you in Scripture is the only true place that you're going to find fulfillment? It's the only true place that you're going to find contentment. See, Jesus was more than a good man. Jesus was more than a great prophet. Jesus was more than a healer. Jesus was more than this. Jesus was God himself in the likeness of man. But there's more. If that isn't amazing enough, there's something else that this verse says about Jesus. In Isaiah 9:6 it says, "For a child is born to us, a son is given to us. The government will rest on his shoulders, and he'll be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace." Now this absolutely amazed me when I read and found out what this word peace means. Listen to this. Peace means completeness, soundness, contentment. Hear that. Completeness, soundness, and contentment. This world is chasing after contentment. It is chasing after anything to feel whole and complete and content. We look to new cars. We look to new homes. We look to new relationships. We look to all sorts of things to find contentment, to find this completeness, to make us whole. But the Bible states it very clear. There is only one thing that's going to make you whole. There's only one thing that's going to give you true contentment. This world is broken. It's broken. They're striving and striving after anything to help them feel complete, not realizing that it's right there in front of them. It's right there in front of them. Is it possible that maybe there's going to be some who hear this message? Maybe some of you hearing this today, that's you. You've been looking around. You've been searching everywhere you can. You've been searching through every decision, every choice you can make to try to find contentment, to try to find wholeness, to try to find soundness in mind, body, and soul. But no matter how hard you look and no matter where you've looked, you can't find it. It's because what I offer you today is the only place that you're going to find it. Do you remember when we were young, they had those toys? It was a ball. And the ball had these shapes in it. It was a triangle, circle, square, rectangle. And then you had these little pegs. Mine was a blue ball with yellow pegs. And what you had to do was you had to fit the circle in the circle. And you put the triangle in the triangle. Now, when you had a stubborn kid like myself, it didn't matter how much you took that triangle and tried to cram it and jam it through that circle, you just weren't going to get it through, were you? Because there was only one way to fit that shape into the middle of that ball, and it was through the correct hole, wasn't it? See, we all have this hole in our heart, really. We have this place in our soul that contentment is found, and joy and peace and love and long suffering and endurance, and all of it is found in this one place locked inside of us. But there's only one way to get there. There's only one shape that's going to fit in there. See, we have this Jesus-shaped hole in our heart. And there's only one shape that's going to go in there and fit just the right way to give us that contentment. And we may have moments, because if you put the triangle just right, you can start to try to cram it through that square. And so you have that little bit of hope as a kid, and you're trying to cram it through and it won't work. And sometimes we make these choices in life that for a moment we find joy. For a moment we find rest. For a moment we find peace and contentment and wholeness. But the truth is, eventually, she falls apart. Because there's only one place. And there's some people who might make it a long way through this life. And in this life, they might make all those choices and do all those things and find that contentment. But the worst thing is when this life is over, we have a whole other eternity. And I can guarantee you that eternity won't be spent with joy, peace, if we don't have Jesus in our heart. And so today, I want to offer you the greatest Christmas gift that could ever be offered to you. Most of us here, you've accepted Jesus. But mark my words, the closer that relationship gets to Jesus, that's when you start to experience the joy. That's when you experience the wholeness, the completeness. You can't experience that if you do not have a close relationship with Jesus. And this is what I'm trying to show you. And this is where I'm going to conclude today. It's that close relationship with Jesus, getting to know Him, that makes all the difference in the world. Because we can't get to know Him, we can't get close to Him until we get to know him. You know, remember I talked to you earlier about Buddy. Buddy, when we brought him home the first day, we took him from his mom. We took him from the rest of his puppy siblings. And we took him home. And he didn't know us. And so who knows what you get when you get a puppy that doesn't know you. It runs into the corner. It cowers. It's scared. It whimpers the first few nights, longing for mommy, right? But this amazing thing happens. You begin to feed him. You begin to pet him. What you're doing is you are getting to know the dog, and the dog is getting to know you. And then there's this bond that is formed between you and your dog. They call it man's best friend for a reason. Because once that dog is loyal to you, once that dog has that relationship with you, that dog will never leave you. Jesus, it's like sometimes we expect to have that trust, that love, that compassion, all these things that are in the scriptures. But we don't want to actually get to know him. We don't want to actually take the time to create and to grow that relationship. I'm here to tell you on this Christmas season, this Christmas and everyone after this can be absolutely amazing. Your life can be full of contentment and joy and peace, no matter what the circumstance you face. But it has to come in a relationship with Jesus. And to get to know Jesus well, you must understand who he is. Jesus is the very God who created this universe, coming down in the likeness of man for you. That's the Jesus we serve. That's the Jesus we love. If I could have every head bowed and every eye closed. If there's anyone here who has ventured away from Jesus, who maybe your relationship isn't quite as close as it should be, and you're searching for contentment, and you're searching for peace, and you know that that's where you need to find it, if that's you, lift a hand and say, that's me. I need a closer relationship with Jesus. Lord, I love you. And I thank you that this time of year we can celebrate the greatest moment in the history of mankind, your arrival. And Lord, I just pray that as we gather with our friends and our family and as we eat pumpkin pie and turkey, that we don't forget what we're celebrating. We don't forget who we are celebrating. And we don't forget what you've done for us. Lord Jesus, if there be anyone who hears this message today or years down the road, God, I pray that you would draw them close to you in a powerful and mighty way. And we thank you in your name we pray. Amen.